We are delighted to welcome back to one of our shows a good friend here on Capitol Square, Colonel Anthony Steve Pike, who's the chief of the Division of Capitol Police. It's you're moving maybe beyond your 10th year now that you've been chief, served as earlier as assistant chief. And Colonel Pike, the last time we talked was just before the pandemic, and I was looking back and I said that you'd had almost 30 years in law enforcement. I think you probably had them now.
Yes.
And that last year should count as two.
Yes, I would agree.
And we very much appreciate your being on and giving us some updates and some information about your work and about the work of your division there in Capitol Police, such a critical agency here at the Capitol. So welcome. Native of Wythe County, son of Southwest Virginia. I could go on and on with your telling folks about you, but let's jump in and perhaps starting with a little bit of a look back at challenges that your agency faced during the pandemic. I'm saying it's over now and hoping that it definitely is. But what were some of the challenges of the past 15 months or so?
David, I appreciate you having me on again. And I think for all of us, the last 15 months has been something that has pushed us to think outside the box in many ways in what we do. I know for us, with being in the area to see the government with our public safety mission that we're responsible for, there were a lot of challenges with the mask mandates and social distancing and ensuring that we're able to function and provide our services 24 hours, 7 days a week. So, our employees work very hard to stay within the framework of the guidelines, either from VDH in the state of Virginia or CDC guidelines that we stayed within. But there were a lot of lessons learned, I know, from over 30 years in doing law enforcement. And, it challenged us in so many ways, but our employees did such a great job rising to the occasion to ensure that we still were the men and women that folks could count on to still be here at Capitol Square, ensure that our facilities and the community that we serve remain safe. So a lot of lessons learned. I hope that none of us ever have to go through a pandemic again. But if we do, I think we're better positioned to work through some of those challenges that we did see.
Before I check with my co-host and see if she has a question, let me ask you another one. We're having a conversation here right at the end of June of 2021, right at a time when announcements coming out about some key buildings opening back up here around Capitol Square. So as you look at you might say some of the challenges as you're making these changes, as the changes are being made, and you then are key and involved in it. Any comments about Pocahontas opening back up, about the Capitol opening back up to the public?
Well, David, I'm glad you brought that up. So June 15th, we opened the Pocahontas building back up to the public. There were, prior to the pandemic or at the beginning of the pandemic, some additional safeguards that we placed in some of the common areas for our employees and others that would be in the building. And we do know that July 1st, the Capitol will be back open to the public. And for those that have been around Capitol Square in the last year or so, a lot of construction in and around the complex. So there's some different parts of the landscape, I guess, that you could say to Capitol Square is different. So we've made those adjustments with our staffing, working closely with the Department of General Services, the House and Senate clerk's offices as well, to make sure that we're fully prepared to assist the public in coming in the Capitol Square and the Capitol. I do know that the tours will resume in the Capitol, but in the interim, I think the normal tour guides will be on the second floor of the Capitol, operating there for a short period of time. So some of the construction that is underway, some repair work that's being done, it's got the extension closed off. Once that's cleared, the extension will be back open to the public. So we know day in and day out, we have to remain very flexible in what we do. We want to remain flexible for the public as well, to ensure that they are well informed about the current operational configuration of Capitol Square and how to easily navigate to the square. I will say, David, we have truly missed our state employees and others that we are so accustomed to seeing each and every day in and around Capitol Square. I know as our officers still went through the buildings and very few folks were in here day in and day out, but we're glad to see things coming back online. We're glad to see state employees starting to come back and occupy the buildings, and that's a good thing that we're very pleased to see. So we'll continue as we move in the coming weeks and months to adjust. We know we have a special session that's coming up in front of us soon, and I'm happy to see that the House and Senate will be back in the Capitol, for that special session. So it's a good thing for our employees to kind of get back in the normal mode of working with our stakeholders and having this population of constituents back here at Capitol Square. So look forward to seeing everyone soon.
Well, I do want to ask one more question, Angel, then I'll turn to you, kind of a follow-up. A lot of our people coming into Capitol Square have been used to coming into that entrance, maybe right from Grace Street. And I'm thinking that may still be closed for a while with construction. And so I'm looking to you, Colonel, to, you're not General Services, but you're Capitol Police, and you know the process. So I guess visitors who want to get into the Capitol might have to come in by the bell tower on Franklin Street or one of those other entrances and then go up to the Capitol to go in. So I guess my main question is that construction around Grace and 9th Street probably is keeping that entrance closed for a while.
Yeah, Dave, a great question. So, we're redesigning our entrance to Capitol Square. So that's under construction and fencing and so forth. And at the same time, there's a significant amount of work that's being done on the sidewalk area on 9th Street adjacent to Capitol Square. So working with DGS and the House and Senate, currently as these construction projects move in phases, we want to make sure that we stay on top, working with everyone on access to Capitol Square, because we know we have a lot of folks that move through the complex. So at the corner of Bank and 9th Street, there will be ADA access there as well in the coming weeks. So once the bell tower gate that is currently being used is closed down for the construction in that area, DGS will make the necessary adjustments there at Bank and 9th Street for access. So those are ongoing conversations and planning and trying to stay in front of this. So, but a great question. And hopefully the North Drive project, I think, is still on schedule for September timeframe to be completed. And we look forward to that when it's done and having that beautiful entrance, kind of the gateway to Capitol Square, open back up. And it's going to be a much needed improvement that we look forward for many years.
It certainly will. Angel, let me turn to you, see if you have a question here at this point in our interview.
I have a couple. As you mentioned earlier, Colonel Pike, that a lot of people are coming back to work. Is Capitol Police hiring for civilians or student opportunities soon?
Well, Angel, great question. So we currently are looking for those folks that are interested in going into public safety. And as we all know, right now is a very challenging time for public safety and law enforcement in the Commonwealth and in our nation. We have multiple open positions for law enforcement that we're looking for great qualified people. You can go to the state website and look for those openings. Go to our website. You can reach out, call us directly, talk to Miss Jamie Winley, our human resource manager. She can give additional information. We also have jobs in our communication center that are normally posted for our dispatcher positions here as well. And then we have oftentimes vacancies for our wage employees, our screeners who help with some of our security positions in and around our building. So if anyone who's watching this is looking for employment, we would love to have you join the Division of Capitol Police, our nation's oldest law enforcement agency that we're very proud to represent. So any information, you can gain that from our website as well, or call in here directly to Ms. Winley for further information.
My next question, what's the best part of your job?
It's just the people, Angel. As David mentioned early on, I've been here for over 10 years with the Capitol Police. And during that time frame, I've just been extraordinarily fortunate to meet just a wide range of people from the Commonwealth, from across our country, and from around the world. Our Capitol, very historic building, and we have so many visitors that come here annually to see that. And when I'm out here going through the square, I often enjoy having those conversations with people, finding out what state they're from, what brought them to Richmond, and really enjoy that. So I enjoy seeing the school groups, the young children that are afforded the opportunity to come here and learn about the history of our Commonwealth and our Capitol. And, even during the General Assembly session, so many folks come and participate in that legislative process. And that's very rewarding from my standpoint to see that. And it's also extremely important in what we do to create that safe place for folks to come and watch the legislative process unfold. And that's the heartbeat, in my opinion, of democracy. So we have a very important public safety mission to ensure that we provide that strong public safety service for our community.
Yeah, tell us more about your officers, the size of the force, if that's appropriate, and about the mixture of folks. It seems like every time you have some who graduate, I see a fantastic release that comes out about how well they did in their classes at the academy. Not that others don't do well from other jurisdictions or other forces, but Capitol Police seem to be right at some of the top people, and that's highly commendable to you and to the force of Capitol Police.
David, I appreciate you bringing that up. Last week we had a recent academy graduation, and we had 3 new officers graduate. So proud of Officer Banks, one of our graduates. She did something that hadn't ever been accomplished in the history of the Crater Police Academy. It's been in existence for over 45 years, but they're there for 20 some weeks, extensive training, heavy academic challenge. And, when we bring our new officers on, that's one of the things that I speak to them about early on is this is a very demanding profession, very complex profession to be in this day. And so important that when you get into the academy environment that you work as hard as you can because the role that you serve to your community is so important. But Officer Banks went through this many weeks of training, and she only missed, and I can't overstate it, but she only missed one question out of the entire 20 some weeks, and that has never happened. And that's a significant achievement on her part. Extremely proud of Officer Banks. Officer Skinner, she was second in academics out of this class, and if I go back, to over a year ago from the last graduation group, we had our officers did extremely well and received many of the Academy Awards too. So we're very, very proud of the hard work that our officers put forth when they get into the Academy. They take this very serious, and it goes to the caliber of people we're looking for. I think it speaks to the quality of our screening process, our hiring process that we use, because it's so important that we put the best men and women out here for our community.
I saw that release and I thought that is amazing and a record for her. I must ask you too about during the pandemic, at least one of the officers died, and it was one that many of us around Capitol Square knew as Buddy. I don't know that many of us knew what his real first name was, but he was Buddy because he was so friendly, and that must have been hard on you and others who had worked with him to lose him during that time.
Woodrow Dowdy, but we all called him Buddy. When I started here with Capitol Police, Buddy was assigned to what we call Post 1, which is the entrance to Capitol Square. And, Buddy was just such a great ambassador, public safety servant for the community and our Commonwealth. And Buddy had been here, well over 35 years with the agency. Buddy, was always the face of Capitol Police for most visitors when they came in the complex. And, when the General Assembly building was in place, the old building, and the members would walk from the building over to the Capitol, Buddy would always have a smile on his face, have those conversations with the members and others from the public, and was always there to provide whatever assistance and information. Buddy knew so much about the history of Capitol Square and history of the agency. And, we miss him so much. That was a very difficult time frame for Buddy's family and for the men and women here at the Capitol Police, and he will be truly missed. I think about Buddy often, and I always hear him when he would see me coming to his location in the distance. He would always shout out my name and have that smile on his face, and it's just such a tragedy that we lost Buddy, and a tragedy for all the great citizens we've lost in the last 15 months from this pandemic. It's extremely, extremely sad.
I will mention for our viewers who didn't have the opportunity to know him that it was what you would say from natural causes. There wasn't an incident here at the Capitol that caused his death. It was natural causes. Colonel Pike, these are difficult times for law enforcement agencies around the country, and I suppose in many other parts of the world as well. And you hear a lot about community policing. I want to make a comment and get your reaction to it, but I think the Capitol Police do a good job at community policing. They know the community. I mean, they know the people. They don't know all those visitors that come in, like you said, but it must be a good example of what other communities. I'm not asking you to speak critically of other communities where they would want to see their police officers really interact in positive ways with the community. And I think that's good training that you all are doing. So I'm giving you my opinion and love to hear your comments.
Well, David, our folks work really hard in working with our community, and our community it's a unique dynamics here. And we have our state employees that we work in and around every day. And then part of that community is those other citizens of the Commonwealth that transcend and come down to Capitol Square during the legislative session. And what I stress to our folks, it's the ability to communicate in a way that is respectful to those that we serve. And that's so important. when the General Assembly sessions in, as I've said before on your show, Dave, that there's a lot of people that come to Capitol Square for the first time, and a lot of uncertainty. They're unsure where to go, what to do, some anxiety built in. And so we work really hard in our training and working with our employees and mentoring our new employees through our field training program to ensure that we do the best job that we can in working with our community and understanding all the dynamics that are there. So, every community has its own dynamics and complexities, as we do here at Capitol Square. So it's being professional, being proactive. And as we've seen in the last 12 months, there's a lot of changes in our profession that has happened. And in my role as police chief here, it's important that I ensure that our employees rise to that level, that we adapt to that change, that we continue to provide the best employees for the community that we serve, because that is just so important for me. So the training, starts with the Crater Academy and what you saw last week with the great work that our employees did. That's the foundation for them to operate from day one. And then these officers that are here now, they'll go through another 10, 12 weeks of field training with veteran officers here. And so we take it very seriously. They have these 12 weeks of additional training and oversight. And then we also put them through a field training interview with a panel to ensure that all the training that they've been exposed to, that we're fully confident that they can operate solo out here, that they are capable of providing the best public safety service for anyone and all that are here at Capitol Square.
You had mentioned at the beginning about being more than 400 years old, the oldest police force. Some of our viewers may not know, you might say, where you report up the chain of command, who's really in charge of the agency. They may be thinking, well, is this the governor, or who's in charge? For those who don't know, say a little something about the structure here at Capitol.
Sure, Dave. Great question. So, the agency was started in 1618. And to your point, we celebrate our 400th anniversary in 2018. But the agency reports to, by code, the Legislative Support Commission, and that is members from the House and Senate. We are a legislative branch agency. So that's who I directly report to for many of the operational components of the agency.
The special sessions coming up at some point soon in the next session. Any challenges that you're seeing that you would want to mention? I'm sure that everything's dynamic, it changes, but we had you looking back some. Look forward a bit and see what are some of the challenges going forward.
Well, I'm glad to have the House and Senate back at the Capitol. I know during the pandemic, we had the House that operated virtually and understandably for various reasons, and we had the Senate out to do a job well. So, even with many of the buildings here at the Capitol closed or had less of a population, expanding our staffing scenario out during some of the sessions does create some additional challenges, which we were able to work through. I do anticipate with for many folks that haven't been around Capitol Square for probably a year, coming back, we have there may be some confusion. They see fencing that may be in and around the Capitol Square right now. It's not there it's there for the construction that's occurring. We have North Drive construction underway, the construction on 9th Street, of course, the General Assembly building underway and well on its way to hopefully being done sometime next year. We have Old City Hall that has a lot of scaffolding and fencing around it. So that's where we're working very closely with our employees, because I think some folks may arrive and come out of the parking deck and pause for a moment, try to figure out where do I go, how do I gain access? So things look a little different. So we'll be there to help out and always have our phones ready to answer any questions and be there to help in any way we can.
I often think that you all are the beginning point of the guide for tourists who
Yes,
come
sir.
in, giving them information. Angel, before I would ask maybe some of the last questions, did you have another question you wanted to ask Colonel Pike?
I think you hit everything.
Okay. Well, Colonel Pike, I have not promoted your website yet, but I'll, without shame, I will promote it as I have before. It is, I was telling Angel, it is filled with good information that's available, and we'll have it on the screen. Encourage people to go and to find out more information there about the agency, and as you said before, opportunities if they're interested in law enforcement or perhaps in civilian type employment.
David, I would just say, I'm glad you mentioned that as well. The website is just packed with so much information from the 400th anniversary, from 1618 to now, speaks about the transition from Jamestown to Williamsburg to Richmond, has some great information, employment information. And then David speaks to our accreditation that we're so proud of, our agency being a state accredited law enforcement agency. We work very hard year in and year out to maintain that accreditation. And it shows from all the good work that the employees do here every day.
Well, Colonel Anthony S. Pike, that's what's on your website. But for those of us that know you, you're Steve.
Yes, sir.
You're the colonel, you're the chief. Before we would close, some other comments that you want to make? Perhaps you thought David was going to ask me this question. He hasn't asked it yet. So anything else that you would like to tell our viewers?
No, I just hope that now that we're all on the other side of the pandemic from where it was, that we ask our viewers and citizens of the Commonwealth, please come down, visit our Capitol, take an opportunity to give the tour guides and go on a tour of the Capitol, come down during the General Assembly session, take part in that legislative process, and many opportunities to view that process from being in the Capitol in the mezzanines or in some of the committee rooms in the Pocahontas building. So I think for the youth of our Commonwealth, it's a great landscape and opportunity for school groups and others to participate and be able to see how this works. I think it's so important that we understand how our laws are made and where they start from and how they end up at the end of the session. So we just look forward to having our visitors back and our state employees back and being back to some normalcy.
Well, thank you very much, Colonel Pike, for being a guest on This Week in Virginia. We look forward to talking with you again soon in the future.
Thank you, David. Thank you, Andrew.